the potentially negative consequences of social media. So I feel like this is a really important video to make because I feel like everyone fully understands all of the amazing benefits that come from using the internet and social media. And even the fact that I'm using the internet and social media to dispense this video through YouTube just proves the value of it. And just being able to connect with other individuals to share amazing ideas, insights, new ways of living, and lifestyles. So I think that we all appreciate the benefits of social media, but I also think that there are enormous negative consequences and impacts of social media that are wreaking havoc all across the world. And I think that it's something that's been studied very little, but in the future, I know that there's going to be tons of research on this, courses on this, because I think that it's everyone's responsibility right now to understand how to properly use the internet, how to properly use social media in a way that benefits us, but without getting sucked into it and experiencing the really negative aspects of it. So in this video, I'm not an expert. This is literally just stuff that I've been thinking about for my own personal life. I'm going to share some of the negative aspects of social media, not all of them. And I think that these are some new ideas, so I'd love to hear what you think about it. And so the whole context behind which this video is spoken, the whole idea that this is coming from, is that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And so what I mean by that is that we're non-physical and we're far beyond this earth, but we are occupying an animal body that has undergone millions of years of evolution. And although we're living in a completely different world today, a lot of our biology has still come from how we originated. And so if you study science and anthropology, you've probably heard that human beings originated in small 150-person tribes. So back then you didn't really know that many people. You knew about 150 people. And you also didn't have that much new information coming at you every single day. Maybe you would look outside and say, okay, well, it's cloudy today, or it's sunny today, or we have food, or we don't have food. But you weren't inundated with the crazy amount of information that hits us every single day through the internet and social media. And I think that now that our world is completely different, our brains still, like I said, operate in a very similar way. And so if you look at the most popular social media platform today, which is Instagram, and you think about your average person, most people, they'll follow some of their friends, and then they'll follow some acquaintances, and then they'll follow some people that they've never met before but that they think they have a cool lifestyle, or they'll follow some celebrities that they've never met before. And most people are daily users of social media, so they look at it and they see it every single day. And so the key point is that your brain doesn't know what social media is. Your brain doesn't know what a smartphone is. Your brain doesn't know what pixels on the screen are. And on a conscious level you do, but on an unconscious level you don't. And so what happens is when you sit down and you're scrolling through social media, in a hyper small amount of time, you're actually seeing dozens and then even hundreds of people. And so all the people that you follow consistently, your brain thinks unconsciously that they are part of your tribe. And so we are very social beings, and what I've actually been discovering, this is kind of shocking, is that our brain does not have the ability to prioritize and distinguish important social information from unimportant social information. And so what I mean by that is when you're scrolling through Instagram and you're seeing hundreds of people's faces and videos, and this person's in Thailand, and this person just had a baby, and this person's eating some Cheerios at their table, your brain catalogs all of that information as hyper important because it's social information about your tribe. And so if you are aware of your brain, if you meditate, if you're conscious of this kind of stuff, when you'll put social media away, oftentimes you'll find that your ability to focus and concentrate after consuming social media is completely destroyed because you've taken in an enormous amount of highly important social information. And after you put social media away, oftentimes you'll be thinking like, wow, how did that person afford to go to Thailand? Or that's so interesting. And oh my gosh, I can't believe that they did this, or that they got together, or that they had a kid or something. And so you're replaying these events over in your mind because your mind catalogs them as very important. But you might have already guessed it, that 98% of what you see on social media is actually completely unimportant and has absolutely no relevance in your life whatsoever. And I think that part of what makes a successful life is being able to focus and concentrate on actually what is important to you. And so when you get on social media and you're taking in all this social information, it can completely fragmentize your brain and cause you not to be able to really focus on anything. And so another aspect of it is that When you're looking at social media, like I said, your brain doesn't know what social media is. All your brain knows is that you're taking in an enormous amount of highly stimulating social feedback and information in a short amount of time. So in a lot of ways, your brain feels like you are actually socializing when you're on social media. But in reality, you're looking at pixels on a screen and you're not interacting with it whatsoever, so you're passively taking it in. And so I think what happens is that this causes people to, it basically dampens your social need. So you can be at home scrolling through social media and get some of the same social fulfillment that you would have, except you're not interacting with a real person, creating a real, genuine, in-person, eye-to-eye connection. And so I think that that has some negative consequences. And then also when you go out in the world and you look at people on buses or in restaurants or walking down the street or at school or at work, you'll find that people are constantly on their phones scrolling through social media. And the reason why is that nothing will ever be as stimulating as scrolling through social media, where you can see hundreds of people in a very short amount of time without having to interact with anyone, but by gathering tons of social information. And so this is why social media is addicting. Some people will argue and say that social media is not addicting. Obviously, it's hyper addicting and it's hyper stimulating, and you're never gonna find anything out in the real world that will come close to that amount of feedback and stimulation in that short amount of time, which is why people don't feel the need to look around them and talk to the people that are right next to them. And then the final thing I'll say, which this is probably the biggest point, is that social media takes an enormous amount of time. So I think it's really cool now that they have screen time for the iPhone. Android has similar apps. I highly recommend going in there and looking at how many minutes a day that you're spending on social media. Multiply that by 365 days in a year, divide it by 60 to find out the amount of hours, and then divide that by 40 to determine the amount of full 40-hour work weeks that you're spending per year on social media. And what most people will find is that if you actually directed that enormous amount of time and energy onto something productive that you care about, people could be accomplishing miracles in their personal lives if they directed that energy away from social media and onto passion projects. And so again, I'm no expert at this. I still use social media, but I'll finish off with a couple quick tips. With Facebook, I don't have Facebook on my phone, and therefore I can only get in if I go on my computer and log in. And what I find is that I do that maybe once every 3 months when I'm using Facebook Marketplace or something like that. Snapchat, I deleted off my phone about 1.5 years or 2 years ago because I found that I wasn't really using it. It wasn't really benefiting me. I know that a lot of younger people, like preteens, will use Snapchat, but consider if it's really of value to you. And the final one is Instagram, which I do have on my phone. And I've talked about this on another video, but what I do for Instagram is that I stay logged out. And so if I want to get into Instagram, I have to log in. And then oftentimes by simply having to log in, I question, hey, is this really something I want to be doing? And if it is, then I'll log in, but I'll spend a shorter amount of time on there and then log out when I'm done. So guys, I hope that this video was helpful to you, and I would love if you commented below, because I think that these really are new ideas. I didn't learn this from anywhere other than my own contemplation. And it's something that I'm delving more and more into because I really, really want to get a hold of it, because I find that the internet is addicting, social media is addicting, and I think that we're so afraid to use the word addiction. But I can say personally that I am addicted to the internet, and I mitigate that really well, and I take really good control of that. But I think it's important to be aware of it and to really work hard at it, so that when you're dying at the end of your life, that you don't realize that you spent years of your life on social media, which is what will happen to most people, is that they will spend years. But I know that you watching this video, you probably want to spend years doing other things, and then a small amount of time on social media that really benefits you. So please comment below what you think about this, and I'll see you guys next week. Ciao.